Slowly but surely, it's starting to feel like fall outside. The Halloween season is near, so let's talk about some witchy books. Hi everyone, my name's Leah. Welcome back to this channel, and today we will talk about my top 10 witchy books. So it was quite hard to create this list because I just haven't read as much books about witches, I guess. I don't know. Leave some recommendations in the comments if you have some really good witch books that you've read. I know I have a few on my TBR that I just haven't read yet, so yeah, maybe I just need to read some more. And I did a lot of these top 10 videos on all kinds of genres and topics. If you want to check that out, I will rank all of these books starting with number 10 and moving my way up to number 1. So yeah, let's just get right into it. So book number 10 is a non-fiction book actually, and it's very short but very large. And it's illustrated by Benjamin. So yeah, it's a no-brainer. I really love all of his books that he illustrates. So yeah, I mean, it's about witches all over the world in different cultures and through time. So we have some very well-known witches in here, but also some that I never heard of just because I'm not as well acquainted with the culture behind it. So yeah, it was just nice, fast-paced read to learn more and to just look at beautiful illustrations. So it would be called Witches or The Witches or something, I guess, if it has been translated into English. This is the German copy, but I mean the inside is the same. At the back we have a very short overview of the witches mentioned in the story. So all kinds of interesting stuff to learn about. This is what a page featuring a witch will look like, and it's written as if it's a fictional text. But then we also have pages like these which have little excerpts about other witches that are similar. So this, for example, features witches that live in the forest. But then we also have pages like these where you have to flip the book, and this is just about witches in general and stuff that they do. So this is about animals that have to do with witches and examples or reasons behind that. So yeah, just a very nice book to have. Okay, next up, number 9 is Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. I know a lot of people love this book. I enjoy her other books much more, but it is a very interesting idea in terms of how witches are portrayed in the book. So yeah, it's just a YA fantasy story with some witchcraft in it. Not your typical average witch that you know of. It's quite unique, but yeah, I just didn't vibe with it too much, but I still enjoyed it for what it was. So we have a library in here and books that are quite evil, and I pretty much forgot all about the story, but yeah, I like the idea. Next up, we have a Diana Wynne Jones book. Oh, this is a very different title in English. I'm gonna check that real quick. Yeah, it's called Earwig and the Witch. And it was my first Diana Wynne Jones book that I ever read. And I also watched the adaptation, which I can't recommend, but I really liked this very short witchy book following Earwig. And she's lived as an orphan her whole life, and then one day she's being adopted by a witch, and she is trapped in that house and has to do all the household stuff. So yeah, it's a very, very disgusting household. The old witch is just leaving a mess behind after every time she does one of her potions and spells. But it's very interesting to learn about that as well. And then there's a magical book with all of the recipes in it. We have a talking cat in here. We have a demon-like creature that is living in there as well, and just a lot of humor in it, and also illustrations. And yeah, I just think that it was very, very fun. It's definitely for a younger audience and very short. A lot of people think that it doesn't feel finished. I didn't really need much more to an end. I mean, I would have loved if it was much longer for sure, but I was satisfied with what it was. And yeah, I just really liked the house and how Ewick is exploring it, trying to find a way out, and just being just as confused as the reader about what the fuck is going on in there. These are some illustrations. They vary in style a lot. Like, we have these black and white pictures which are quite large, but then also colored ones which are full page, but then also like little drawings from time to time. This one, but yeah, like every single page has some kind of drawing on it, so that was really, really cool. Next up is a book that is very hard to see on camera, and I don't think it has ever been translated into German. Maybe English, I'm not sure. This is again a non-fiction book illustrated by Benjamin Lecomte, and it's very similar to the other book, just talking about all kinds of witches through time. And it was one of my favorite books at the time when I got it signed on the left side. Still very proud about it. So yeah, it's called Grimoire de Sorcière, and again it has illustrations on every single page and a lot of information. It moves through time chronologically and talks about people that have lived in real life and were associated with witchcraft. So we have Lilith here again, but also some other people, for example Isis. But we also have again the witch from Hansel and Gretel, I think, in more detail. The other book only had a very, very short excerpt about her. And then also Medusa, for example. So yeah, it's very nice companion book to the other witch book, because it does feature very different people, and again from all kinds of cultures all over the world. We have some Russian stuff, I think, in there, and antiquity, Asian stuff, Egyptian, all the kind of fun stuff to learn about. And it's also written very nicely. It took me forever to get through because it's French, but I really, really liked the writing style. It doesn't feel like a dry textbook at all. It reads like a fiction book, in my opinion. So yeah, really, really enjoyed that one. This is a quick overview of all the people featured in here. And let's move on to the next one already, which is The School for Good and Evil. This is the collector's edition of the first book in the series. And yeah, it's written by Salman Shanani, and it's also a middle grade book. And it's about a magical school. It also has fairy tales in it, and we follow two young girls who are swept into this magical world that they didn't know of before. They were readers just like you and me, who read about fairy tales in their world, and they didn't know that this was actually real. So they get to this magical school where all the fairy tale characters exist, and they learn about witchcraft. And yeah, really like this, especially the first trilogy, which was all about fairy tale. The second trilogy, or book 4 to 6, were more about Arthurian legend, which is just not something that I love. But yeah, I'm currently still reading the prequel duology, and this one is very nice again, featuring fairy tales and witchcraft, and everyone has their magic at a fingertip, so you don't need wands, but I think there are wands. Were there wands? I don't know, but they don't require them necessarily. And we have good magic and bad magic, and we have your romance in it as well. A lot of humor again, which wasn't always great, but sometimes it was very, very entertaining. And yeah, it's just very nice following them to all of the different classes and learning about all the different magic, since everyone also has a different talent. So for example, there's one of the supposedly bad witches which has a demon tattoo, and she can let the demon loose, and yeah, all this kind of interesting stuff. And it just talks about a lot of moral stuff, like what really is good, what is bad, is there an in-between, can you only be good or can you be both, can you change sides, and also a lot of gender talk, like why are only the boys able to do sword fighting, why do all the good witches have to wear beautiful dresses and look beautiful, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I really like that as well. Next up, quite similar to the last book, this is Element High by Manuel Neff, which is only available in German as far as I'm aware, and this is also about a magical school, but it doesn't take place in a completely fantastical world as School for Good and Evil does. This takes place in our world, and then pretty much like Hogwarts, we have a magical school that humans don't know of, and then our main character, a young boy, is able to attend the school and learn about all the magical stuff, become a wizard, and meeting all kinds of people from all over the world. So we have a lot of different cultures represented in here, which I just really loved as well. And I mean, it's a lot about just attending school, facing the dangers that are going on in the magical world, and all the different classes. The people here are divided by elements, so we have elemental magic, and that was really cool as well. And we also have some science fiction elements like portals, a bit of time travel, and we have all kinds of creatures in here, like we have magical plants, magical animals, and also demons later on in the series. So yeah, it's just a bunch of interesting stuff, and I really liked it. And also dragons. Yeah, but also in the later books. This is not the first book, I can't find it now. This is from the spin-off series, where we follow the characters after school graduation, so they attend university and college now. And yeah, really like that aspect as well, that it doesn't stop after school, but moves on with them growing older and more mature. And we have a lot of characters in here. It's not just about the main character, we have a lot of side characters as well in here which we follow, and I think we also have different perspectives. The writing style isn't the best, it's a self-published book, but I think it's worth it for the content. So yeah, highly recommend this one as well. And the next book again is a Diana Wynne Jones book. As I've said at the beginning, I just have to read more witchy books so that I don't have to repeatedly show the same authors. But yeah, I really like the trilogy about Howl's Moving Castle. Not just the first one, I really liked the third one as well. The second one not so much, but the setting was really cool and refreshing. And yeah, I mean, I think everyone knows about it, or about the anime at least. And I mean, it's similar to it, but there are still a lot of changes. comparing book and adaptation so that you can really read the book even if you know the anime very well. And I mean, I didn't watch the anime before I read the book, so I didn't have a problem of feeling like I've known the story before. And again, it has a lot of humor in it. Sometimes doesn't make a lot of sense, but I'm just here for the journey and the interesting aspects about magic and fantasy in these books by Dan Evan Jones, which I think are just very, very cool. Again, we follow a girl who didn't know anything about witchcraft before, but then she has to, well, be an apprentice to a very well-known wizard, and it's really about just her daily life in that house, which is moving around the world, and which has portals in it so that it can be at different places at the same time depending on which door you open. And it's just very interesting, very cool characters. I really like Calcifer, who is the fire in the house, which is just it's a fun idea to give fire a personality. There's a curse on Sophie, our main character, so she needs to learn about that, try to find a way to break it. There's a bit of romance in it, a lot of mystery, some royal stuff about the king as well, and just learning about magic, which is always fun and something that I always enjoy. And the next book is about a magical school again. It's Nevermore by Jessica Townsend, and it's also a middle grade book and also about a young girl who didn't know of magical school before, but then she attends it and she learns, she goes to class, she makes friendships and learns about some dangers going on. There's competition going on, and yeah, it's just a very, very fun series. We have a Magnificat in here, which is also on the cover, which I really loved. Magical talking cat, love that. We also have a vampire in it that I remember, and yeah, just a bunch of interesting characters with all kinds of different interests and magical stuff going on. First 3 books were all very, very nice. All of them have something new to offer. It doesn't really feel repetitive at all, and I think every single book also expands the world more, but it's been a while since I've read them now. And book number 2 is quite different to almost all of the other books, because this is Sleaford by Brom, and this is pretty much a horror book, I would say. It reads like a historical book, but it does have a major fantastical aspect in it, which just makes it feel much more refreshing. So this takes place in 1666 in Connecticut. In this, we follow a woman who was recently widowed and is now an outcast to the village because she just doesn't want to marry anyone else and she wants to do all the farm work herself. But, well, let's say the Puritans don't really like that. And yeah, so we have all the village stuff going on, and Agatha just trying to survive with all the work that she has to do now and without any real support. And then we also have the woods where she lives nearby, and there's some sinister stuff going on. We have a reawakened spirit, which, well, our main character will get to know a little more. And it's really, really interesting. The spirit, creature, whatever, is very, very fascinating, and also all the other wood folk, I guess, that live there, which are scary but also very interesting. It's a very dark story talks about pagan and Puritan topics, and it's just very, very atmospheric. I loved it very much. It also has a few illustrations in it, but they can spoil if you look at them too early. They are all in the middle of the book, just depicting all the different characters in it. And yeah, I mean, it's just very, very nice. Our main character is seen as a witch, and she has to deal with the repercussions of that, if she wants to or not. And it has a very, very nice ending as well. And I just love historical fiction, horror and fantasy, and all of them three combined in one book is just very amazing. And we're already at the top spot. This is book number 1. I know it's by J.K. Rowling. I know, but it's just the best book about witches that I've read so far. I'm so sorry. I rarely reread books, but this is one of them. I read the whole series when I was younger and reread it maybe 2 years ago, something like that, and I just loved it so much again. And I don't know, it's just a classic and everyone should try it out. I know it has some faults. Now that I've read some other books which are also set at a magical school, which are talking more about gender issues and also cultural stuff, but it's still so good. And this is the Minalima edition, which is also just absolutely amazing, with all kinds of cool stuff in it. Like, I haven't read the edition yet, so I don't want to look at all the things in too much detail, but yeah, once the whole series has been published in that way, I will certainly reread it that way. So those are all of the books. Let me know what your favorite witchy books are down in the comments, and I'll hope to see you in my next video very soon. And until then, take care, happy reading, bye!